When we look at the challenges and how we respond to these difficult employment conditions in Southeastern Europe, what we find, as has been pointed out, is there's no magic bullets, no sufficient conditions. If we just do this, the employment problems will be solved. Instead, we have necessary conditions, things that need to be done, which in and of themselves don't guarantee a significant resolution of the problem, but without them, we're not going to make much headway. And these necessary conditions, I would argue, can be broken down into three components that comprise, if you like, three sides of a triangle. The first are the growth policies, second are the employment policies, and the third are employment programming and projects. And obviously, all three of these legs, all three sides of this triangle are needed. But different legs or different sides of this triangle have been emphasized at different times for different reasons. The initial emphasis, going back to the 1990s and the first years of the new millennium, were on getting the growth framework right. An emphasis upon, if you like, the top part of the top apex of the triangle, the growth policies. Of course, we know appropriate emphasis was placed upon macroeconomic stabilization, the liberalization of prices and commerce, privatization, private sector development, broadly understood the reform agenda, the structural reform agenda. The anticipated result, of course, was the tide would rise, and a rising tide would lift all boats. And oftentimes, recovery and growth trends in this respect were linked to the post-conflict recovery that occurred after conflicts in this region had ended. But we also discovered that even when growth occurred, when the macro framework arguably was put in place, that growth was often jobless. And it suggests the weakness of only focusing on the top apex of that pyramid, and underscore the importance of the other two elements of the triangle. This gave rise to a growing emphasis upon labor market policies, the second leg, or second corner of this triangle, if you like. But as Professor Perandarenko has pointed out in his background paper, a very interesting background paper prepared for this conference, there's really no agreement on exactly what these labor market policies should be. He writes, quote, "At the level of declarations, every country wants to support the demand for labor, to improve the quality and adequacy of labor supply, and to assist labor market integration and social inclusion of those who are most vulnerable. But at the level of objectives and actions, there are significant disagreements." That is, there's no common approach for fixing the region's labor market problems. So what, in effect, now we have a chance to, or opportunity to maybe take a slightly different approach that is based upon perhaps two elements. The first is a greater emphasis on this third leg of the triangle, projects and programming that are actually working, that have demonstrated results, that can be scaled up and possibly replicated in other countries and supported by their governments, but also under EPA. Two frameworks and other employment policies coming from Brussels, as has already been described by Mr. Bender. But then there's also perhaps opportunities for exploring new policy dimensions that haven't yet been fully ambitiously exploited, associated with integrated approaches going beyond simply employment, and also possibilities associated with green economy and green employment policies. Things will be picked up later in this meeting. What do we mean by this? Well, if we look at integrated approaches and associated challenges, we see we have problems of measurement, of really understanding what is happening in labor markets and in this region, and how those trends are linked to problems of poverty, employment, migration, exclusion. But we also see that there are opportunities associated with more closely aligning labor market policies with policies for social protection and social inclusion, policies for education, policies for regional development, and policies for natural resource management, especially water, and disaster risk reduction. As we know from the recovery from the floods that affected so much of the Western Balkans last year, there can be very important employment and development opportunities associated with that rebuilding if we do indeed build back better. needed for this is oftentimes institutional development. So integrated approaches are all about thinking about the three pillars of sustainable development, not only economic growth, not only social development, but also environmental sustainability, and finding policy and programmatic solutions that integrate all three elements. Now, in order to take advantage of these opportunities, there's an important institutional development agenda, or what might be called governance reform for partnerships, going back to the importance of the governance issues mentioned in the first keynote speeches. If we think about this in the state sector, we have questions of capacity development, institutional development for vocational training institutions, for employment offices, for local development bodies. But it's not only about the state sector. It's also about the private sector and how the state sector interacts with the private sector, because the private sector, of course, is where the jobs are created. The private sector is what creates opportunities for on-the-job training. And it's also about partnerships with the third sector, with civil society organizations, which can engage local communities, mobilize local communities to address local employment, social disputes and challenges. And also, quite frankly, oftentimes it's in civil society where the project cycle management expertise is resident. The expertise necessary to design, implement, and assess the impact of projects and programs. In order to take advantage of these opportunities, we have governance reforms issues relating to getting the right mix of decentralization, deconcentration, and re-centralization, what we see so often in the governance agendas in South Africa. And finally, we have the green economy, green jobs questions and opportunities. ILO has done a lot of great work in this, so has UNIDO, and UNDP is also increasingly engaged in this as well, especially in Southeastern Europe. As we know, there is a growing body of evidence showing employment benefits that result from investment in energy efficiency, renewables, in waste management, in ecotourism. These are commercially viable green employment, green economy opportunities. Now, sometimes these opportunities require push from public sector investors. And the question always arises, especially in a constrained fiscal environment, where will the money come from? Well, the fiscal space needed to finance such investments can be found through reductions in fossil fuel subsidies, through the pursuit of green procurement policies, where state procurement can place increasing emphasis upon the use of recycled materials, contracting to firms that use environmentally sustainable technologies, for example, and use of higher taxes or fees on environmental matters, such as carbon emissions, water use, etc. That is to say, broader use of these instruments can also finance reductions in taxes on labor, boosting, therefore, employment overall. So on that note, I thank you for your attention, and I think that this meeting is important not only because it can call attention to new policy opportunities for addressing employment issues in Southeastern Europe, but it can also help us to see better the benefits and opportunities from programming, from finding and identifying programs and projects that are working, and identifying ways to scale them up and replicate them in places where perhaps they haven't yet.